All right, it is 4 o'clock. We will start the CNI committee.
Bless you.
Bless you. Thank you. Excuse me.
And the first thing will be the approval of minutes from last month.
I would move to accept those.
Second.
Aye.
Sorry, think about that.
Aye. Yes.
We're good? We're good to go. Okay. All right, so it looks like the next thing out is band uniforms.
Good afternoon. I want to take this opportunity real quick to thank the Board of Education and the school district for providing this opportunity for the Fine Arts Department, specifically Central High School, to replace their band uniforms. And here in just a second, I'm going to let Mr. Maxwell go over the details of the uniform. I just was told that I needed to just bring to your attention that you should have in your packet, in your electronic packet, the financial information regarding the uniform. We are under budget, which is a good thing, and we are going to, believe, be receiving a partial discount for paying part of the purchase up front, and it's being done through the TIPS and TAPS program, which the school district is a purchasing co-op that the district belongs to, and also Stanberry Uniforms. We have used this company for the last 4 band uniform purchases here in the district. They're in Brookfield, Missouri. They're the largest manufacturer of band uniforms, I think, here in the United States now. And Steve Roberts and the staff there are wonderful people to work with. They have great customer service. They make a great product, and they leave no detail out of the quality and the construction of the uniform. And if any of you are interested, I have an 18-page specification sheet that you can look at if you're interested to see any of that about how the uniform's made. One of the things that I will say is that the fabric that they have is such a unique fabric that they have their own trademark on that fabric, and you can't purchase it at any other uniform company. So I'll let Mr. Maxwell talk to you about the uniform.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate what Griffin said. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak to you guys and to allow us to purchase this. Some of the nice things about this uniform that's different from the last time that we got, and anybody that sews will appreciate this. Something that Stanberry does now is they put snaps in the cuffs, so it saves time, so our moms won't have to do that. That's in the jacket, also in the pant. One of and we talked about the material. This uniform, in a pinch, can be washed. The hat can be washed in an HE washing machine. We had 2 C's that we were looking at. We didn't like that one, so they sent this one. I think that one looks a little bit better, so we like that. Something else that Stanberry's that we're going to do different. In the past, we've always had a cape, and he asked us if we wanted a cape. And I said, yes, I want a cape. We always have one. He goes, well, let me tell you what you can get for the same price as a cape. And what they will do is they've made this plaque, and it will be specific for each uniform. It buttons up here and it buttons on the side, plus a wrap that will go around the hat. And so we're really getting 2 uniforms for just the cost of what it would have been just for the 1 uniform. And there's a variety of things we can do this. We can use this more traditional look for a parade. We can do this for the field show. If we get creative sometime, we can have half the band in this and half the band in that. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with that particular style of uniform. The material is if you've ever been in the band room in September on a Friday night or towards the end of September, it's not a pleasant odor. Okay. The nice thing about these uniforms is it draws the moisture away. It doesn't get it, and it releases it. So there's a lot less odor involved with the uniform. Something else that Stanberry is going to do for us is this garment bag. This is a heavy-duty garment bag that they're going to supply us with as well. Before, they've been vinyl uniforms, or garment bags that break. This is a heavy-duty sewn material. It's going to last as long as the uniform does. And then they'll also provide hat boxes for it, along with the plume and plume carriers. Stanberry's been a great company to work with. This is the third sample, I think, that they've made for us for this particular style. We started the process last winter, getting sketches and that type of thing, and then they came and visited us this past fall with several samples of uniforms. They made us one. We kind of tore it apart, said we like this, that, and the other, and then they made this one. And this is a finished product except for the C here, and there's one other. There's a C on the pant that we don't like that we're going to have changed as well. So, questions?
Are you going to miss the cake?
No. In a way, but I can live without it.
Mr.
I can
Griffin,
live with the discipline.
did we get 3 bids from 3 companies?
No, because this is part of a purchasing co-op, it was not, my understanding was it was not required. We belong to the Tips and Taps program, and so does Stanberry Uniform. And so the second page that's in your packet basically shows that we're awarding the bid of the uniform to them because we both belong to this purchasing co-op. That's my understanding, at least the way that is.
Is that right, Jake? Is that?
It's yes, and because everything from what we had discussed this, from what the specifics that they were requesting would also fall into a sole source also.
So we need that paperwork filled out.
Yeah, we probably ought to make
Yeah.
sure that
Do
we
a sole source
Yeah.
also. Okay,
Well, everything documented.
okay. We will do
And
that.
obviously, I mean, board approval here, which is as big as
Well,
any of
we've
the
already
things that's been
approved the money
identified.
for the
Yeah.
marching band outfits. That was done a long time ago.
Was it
Yeah.
in a board committee meeting or just in the budget?
No, it was done at a meeting.
What we would like is you approve the actual bid form.
Right,
too,
that
so
this
we've
is for
got
the
that.
actual bid,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this has already been
Sure.
okayed. We're just looking at the details now.
Yes.
So would you like for us to come on Monday to the board meeting for approval there, or are you going to give that to us here?
I
How's
think
that
we can
gonna
get
work?
it.
Yeah, we'll put it on
It's just consent.
As long as you get that
Sole
paperwork
source,
for the
yeah.
source provider, so we have that. No, we'll just put it on consent agenda and be fine.
So you won't need to come.
Okay,
Unless you want to come. You're always welcome to come.
But you can get the sole source documentation from my office,
Okay.
fill it out, and then have that as part of the paperwork that goes on to the consent agenda.
I will do that.
For next week.
all right, thank you.
It looks
Thank you very
wonderful.
much.
Are the kids excited?
Yes, they are. 'Cause we-
I like it that you did the 2-for-1.
Yeah, actually, this has become more common. Platte County has done something very similar. They also have two different bands that they use, and so this is becoming more and more common.
Do you know when we do the next marching band? Because I know it's not every year that we replace uniforms.
Each school's on a 10-year rotation.
So every 10 years we're replacing these.
And I believe it's kind of spaced evenly, so it's not next year, but Lafayette's the next one up, I know that. I would have to check.
It's not
to
next
see.
year, might be the year, might be the next one, something
Right.
like that. Okay.
Either the following or 2 years down the road, yeah.
I was just curious how many years, 10 years is a long time for the uniforms to hang in there.
Well, and our students have done a great job. One of the things that we do is we issue the uniform and then we get it back the same day. Something else, and I don't know if you want to talk about this, but Stanberry has connections where they can sell our old uniform. So
we could possibly sell the old ones from Central?
yeah, I mean, we're not going to make $80,000, but we can get a little bit of the money back. But because Steve Roberts has contacts not only here in the States but also in South America.
We were
So-
just thankful to see that they might be repurposed somewhere.
Somebody can make use of
rather
them
than
instead
ending
of
up in a
the
landfill or something.
We'll have to look and see if that's allowed, right? Because,
Well, after a certain amount of years,
Yeah, all we have to do is declare it as surplus property.
Yeah.
And then we would.
and
After a certain
there's not a
years.
certain way you have to do, it doesn't have to be at auction, it could be sent.
And once the board declares it as surplus property, we can do an RFP, and request proposals for people
That's what
buying
we
it
should
from
do.
us. We can auction it off, and I'll discuss it.
Excellent. Will you talk to Bo about doing that?
Yes, we will.
Because that's much better than just throwing them in the trash.
Exactly.
At least we could get some return, even if it's minimal.
And I'll do
nothing.
and the
Somebody
lab-
be able to use them.
The last time I sent an email to all the music teachers, theater people in town saying, hey, we're getting rid of these. If you have a need for them, let me know. You can have as many as you want.
Right.
And so I'll do that again.
If we don't sell them. Great.
Thank you. They look wonderful. Thank you very much. So we'll put that on the consent agenda.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that,
The right paperwork gets together.
yes, we'll make sure that, we might even put that under Debbie, approval of bills there also, so that we make
Right.
sure.
So
it
everything
can be
gets approved
found.
at once.
Yes.
We don't have to do the multiple approvings.
The actual bid form.
Excellent. Sounds good. See, we're getting so much better. Okay, that looks like the next item is our fine arts curriculum.
Okay, so Mr. Verbeek is here, and he has been working over this past school year with a team of teachers to update our visual arts K-6 curriculum, and he's here to present to you what the changes are, what that process looked like, and what the curriculum looks like. So, Mr. Verbeek.
How are we doing? Good?
Hanging in there.
Hanging in there is all we can expect. But thank you for your time. This is actually a K-12 rewrite, but K-6 is going this month, and you'll get to see Kevin again next month. I know. My writing team included Andrea Ashelman from Lindbergh, Katie Maskell from Oak Grove, and Daniel Ramming from the Colgan Center. And so the biggest change, or the biggest wow about the new visual arts curriculum is we're infusing something in it called visual thinking strategies. And visual thinking strategies is a protocol thinking strategies that is very reminiscent to what we were doing earlier with Project Zero. And the reason a few years ago we jumped on the Project Zero bandwagon was because the thinking strategies that they used with that were identical to what was going on in ELA. And so it made sense in my mind that if Johnny's getting the same message in the regular classroom, and then in the art room, and then in the music room, since we all don't learn the same, at some point, the light's going to kick on. So this is kind of down the same road. Basically, regardless of the piece of artwork that the kids look at, you ask 3 questions. What is going on in this picture? What do you see that makes you say that? And what more can you find? Okay? And so then your role as the teacher is you are more of a facilitator of the students' learning. You're paraphrasing their comments neutrally, you're pointing at the areas that they're discussing, and then you're linking and framing the student comments. Students are asked to look carefully at the works of art, talk about what they observe, back up their ideas with evidence, and listen to and consider the views of the other kids, and then discuss many possible interpretations. Okay, and then the other piece that is really cool about this is how much that it locks in with what's going on in ELA right now and the Common Core. And I was going to do this up there, but we couldn't make it work, so I'm sorry. So one of the major shifts in the Common Core state standards in ELA is that students produce and use evidence in a text to justify their views. Okay, so by using VTS on a regular basis, teachers can develop evidence-based reasoning habits with their kids. Okay, and so in reading, the anchor standards that tie in are Anchor Standard 7, integrate and evaluate content presented in diverse media, and then Anchor Standard 6, assess how point of view or purpose shapes the content style of a text. In writing, Anchor Standard 1, write arguments to support claims. And then speaking and listening, prepare for and participate effectively in a range of conversations. Standard 2, integrate and evaluate information. Standard 3, evaluate a speaker's point of view. Standard 4, present information, findings, and supporting evidence that listeners can follow. And then Language Standards 5 demonstrate understanding of word relationships and nuances and word meanings. And it also helps out for our English language learners. It provides them opportunities to interact with proficient English speakers, provides opportunities for classroom interactions, both listening and speaking, and provides opportunities for ELLs to build on their strengths, prior experiences, and background knowledge. So, another really cool thing about this is we're going to be able to start doing benchmarks in visual arts in elementary, which is kind of a new concept. And so what we're doing, and we played with it with 4th grade this year, and we'll expand it next year, but this is a group from San Antonio. So this was a piece of artwork, and then so before, the first time the kids looked at it, they said, I see clouds in the sky, I see a lady sitting and staring, I see a little girl carrying some flowers, I see a little boy, I think I see Santa, I see another boy carrying a bucket. Okay, so that was the first time. Okay.
Excuse me.
And then after they used this technique and went on and did it again at the end of the year, I think the girl in the hat is probably posing to take a picture. I see a little girl holding a basket full of pink flowers. I also see a little boy dressed as he like maybe in karate. So a lot further in depth. And so if you look at beginning to end, the word count on the first one was 38. There was no evidential reasoning. There was no conditional language, and there were no multiple possibilities. But the last time, the word count was 87. Evidential reasoning was 3. Conditional language was 3, and multiple possibilities was 3. So here's one way we're going to be able to benchmark and show growth, because that's important now, in the visual art classroom. So we'll probably be doing this probably 3rd through 6th grade, and then in the lower grades, probably, certainly kindergarten and 1st grade, we'll probably do self-portraits in the fall and then self-portraits in the spring, and we'll be able to talk about how they've grown there too. And so that's VTS, but how it's embedded into the curriculum is we've got 5 standards, and it's embedded in Standard 2 and in Standard 5. And Standard 5 is using VTS to discuss the nature of the art, personal and group responses for artworks. And Standard 2 is historical and cultural context, using VTS, compare and contrast 2 artworks, and then we list some of them by grade, and it gets more complicated as you go up. So I also took the liberty of sharing this and the curriculum with a couple of the docents at the Albright, Sue Wagner and Diane Watson, and they were so jazzed about VTS that I'm making a presentation to all the docents later on this week. And so we're thinking possibly when we do our 5th grade art tours starting next year, they might incorporate a mini VTS lesson with the kids at the beginning.
Follow the same pattern.
Yeah, and so I think that's a win-win for everybody.
Sure. That's great.
And so maybe even have the Albright Kemper end up being a training center for Northwest Missouri through VTS. Because there's a training center in St. Louis, and there's a training center in Kansas City. So, and I don't know, and that would be on them, but that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
So how do you guys, when you have this committee and you decide how you're going to do this, I have no idea what you talk about or how you pick something.
This particular thing I became aware of because I sit on several state committees, and so in August I was in Jeff City at a Missouri Arts Educators Alliance, and so Mary Franco from Columbia presented this at that time, and I was like, this is what we've been missing. And so I had her actually come up and do PD with the art teachers in November, and we've been working with it a little bit ever since. And so there's still a whole bunch that we don't know yet, but then for next year's PD and probably the year after, we'll be
building on
what we already know.
I think it sounds great.
So
a great way of teaching how to understand art and what you're looking at.
And so
or listening to.
Yeah, right. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, it's visual.
Any questions?
Is it only for paintings? Is it also for sculpture?
It could, those same, painting, sculpture, drawings, anything.
Anything visual.
Right.
Any, like, pictures, camera work?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the beauty of it. It doesn't matter what the
medium.
is, it's the same 3 questions. And you can do it in social studies and.
Right, when you're
science
writing
and-
your essays, that's
Right.
the kind of things you ask
Yeah.
yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Very well done.
Yeah, but that goes across that curriculum.
I like it. So now you need some materials, huh?
Now we need some,
So your next item.
It's not going to be out of pocket this
It's
year?
about money, and so I hope these microphones are on, because I've never said this before, and I probably never say it again. But Darren Burbick came in under budget.
Oh, my goodness.
Does he not normally? He's a dreamer.
And
He
so.
just likes a quality product, that's
You
what it
have,
is.
I believe in front of you, you have a proposal for, you had already approved a $100,000 budget, and he came in, I believe his total is just under 88. It shows the items there that he's proposing.
quite a savings, yes.
Great.
I think it looks wonderful.
Any questions?
And is this for the whole
This is K6.
K6? But you have 100,000 for K6.
Yes,
And there's 100,000 for 712.
and we'll bring that next month.
Is that going to be 20,000 over?
I
So that it works out?
cannot speak to that. I-
Okay.
My
Just
guess is
checking.
no.
Just checking. So this would be consent agenda too then?
I think so. That's good. So we have 18 because we're sending one for each school.
We have 18 because there's 16 elementary schools. We have one alternative school, and I need one to keep in my office when somebody loses.
Missing
their place.
something,
So
yeah.
nicely done. Except for that one item, we only got 17 of.
Oh, that, yeah, because I don't have room in my office for those. for
No
those
posters.
Yeah,
Don't need the posters.
yeah.
Well, this money was already okayed. This expenditure has already been okayed, as Brian said, so we're just seeing the
Okay,
curriculum
I just
cost.
have, well, 2 other things I'd like to say. One, I very much appreciate our continued support for the 5th grade art tours and blessing the kids out there, and I hope that continues. And then the other thing is, we are ecstatic about being able to purchase our art supplies and using school arts and crafts to be able to do that. And there again, it's kind of like what they were talking about with the band uniforms. School Specialty is in a huge co-op with school districts in 23 states. And so because we are a part of that, we're able to get really rock bottom prices on our art supplies. That being said, since I've been in this position, since 2005 or 6, I've gotten $30,000 a year for elementary art supplies. Because we wouldn't be able to do what we do if we didn't have it. However, if I take that $30,000 and I divide it by the 6,400 kids, that it's $4 and some change per kid per year. I'm okay with what we've got, but if you know, I did come in under budget. So if
We have a little
the,
flexibility there.
if all the stars and planets would line up and more would end up in that kettle, we would make it to good use, and crayons and computers wouldn't get to know us quite as well. But you know, I'm just putting that out there.
Well, and every year, prices increase,
Right.
and now we have, we have kilns in 2 schools?
We have kilns in 3 schools.
3 schools.
Yeah.
So that's something that we didn't used to have,
Right.
so that's an extra expense.
Right. Because in the way that works right now, if the elementary school has or the secondary school has the kilns, and all the secondaries do, then whatever they spend on clay comes out of their supply budget up front.
What are the 3 schools? I know Oak Grove has one.
Oak Grove has one, Carden Park has one, and Pershing has one.
And I want everyone to understand that I know over the years people talk about kids come to school so that they can play football or basketball or track or whatever it is. There are kids that come to school just for the arts.
Absolutely.
And so we really can't afford to not put that at the forefront.
I
Because there's a
agree.
lot of kids that, I mean, how many kids can play football? I mean,
And
fucking
can
right.
continue to do that till they're 80.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
this is something that you nurture, and this brings out so much more of their personality. And I think it's just really important. And anything that you read, they always talk about the importance of arts.
Yep.
So I think music and art we always have to do what we have to do to make sure that we keep that alive and healthy.
Since you said that, one of the things we bring into you relatively soon is a proposal to consider utilizing some capital improvement money. We've been having Chris Silcock do an analysis of some of our buildings to find out which buildings could actually support kilns, because we believe it's an important part of our program. And so I have that information, and we'll be bringing it to you soon just to have a conversation about whether you want to entertain adding kilns in other locations where possible. So we have right now 5 schools that could, electricity could handle. So we'll be bringing that to you.
And then you have to have a certain kind of space as well,
You
right,
do.
for safety reasons.
So
Yeah.
we're doing the work to make sure that it's feasible before we bring it to you.
Excellent. Yeah.
Well, yay for under budget. Good job.
Keep that in mind.
And really nice program.
Excellent.
I'm done.
So do we need a sole source thing on that one too?
I would think that we already, for the art supplies. I
Or
would
not for
think
the program materials?
For BTS. I mean, it's going to cost $80 per teacher to have access to their website, but as long as the art supply budget gets increased, we're good.
No, I mean like we're not getting a bid for this program from different places. It's only one place sells it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. From BTS.
So we have a form that you have to
I
sign.
would have to get that.
It's not offered by anybody else.
No, right.
So
So we
can
need the form.
Got it.
You can get that from
We
us.
want,
Yes.
we want to be sure that we're in compliance.
It's online too.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Even better.
But since you're here,
But
swing by
they'll
the
have visitors, so.
Sure.
We're learning so much, sole source provider, all that stuff.
Yeah. It's just important
The
to have that
BTS's
when you
website is amazing because there's like thousands of visuals, and they've already broken it up to grade level.
So with the current budget that you have, it's $4 and some change per student?
for the materials.
If I take the $30,000 that I get, divided by the 6,400 elementary kids we have, it's 468 something per year.
That's what the art teacher has to use for his
Yes,
students.
and so then it goes, so Carden Park gets more money than Lake does, because they get more kids. Okay,
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we need to look at that.
Yes.
And I don't know the process for doing that.
It would be part of the process
process.
of him talking to Brian, then when Brian and I sit down, because Brian surely has other people who want more in their budget, and so then he'll have to evaluate what our
Where's more
priorities
critical?
are and what money is available, and so that's just
Well, and that, I have a question. Is this okay if I ask about textbooks? I've been hearing from people that we don't have enough textbooks for some of the elementary kids. Are we like getting ready to order new ones or something? And so the old ones, some of them are.
Depends, like social studies, yes. At some point, we get to a place in the rewrite process where we have to determine if we're down to a couple of years, are we going to invest thousands of dollars on books to wrap up a couple of years? Because then they end up going to the warehouse and getting sold off for nothing. So it just depends where we're at in the process. But there's also, like, for example, math, which we just purchased recently, where we didn't purchase a textbook for every child because we had online access to the stuff that we needed. So there are cases like that where we don't. However, with that said, I'll just go ahead and put a plug right now that I'm, at the Finance Committee meeting, we're going to be bringing the textbook schedule to you. And one of the things that I've asked Bo to change in the schedule is that when we set a budget for purchase like this, we say you have $100,000. And that's really kind of a static amount of money. And that means go find what you need for that amount of money. Now, sometimes we come in a little less, sometimes we come in a little higher, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. But the problem with that is that you're buying the resources based on the numbers that are sitting here today. So 2 years from now, we could have more first graders. And we didn't buy the book for enough books because at the time, 2 years ago, so we've never had a budget that allowed us to say we gained 15 third graders, could we go buy them a math book? We've never had the budget. So one of the proposals that we're going to make at the Finance Committee is that we adjust the textbook schedule to show a contingency amount of money. So each year, when grade levels adjust, we can use that money to buy the additional textbooks we need.
So we're that close when we buy the textbooks that we don't have 15 extras?
we buy extra, we buy a certain percent extra, but they're getting so expensive that the extras get smaller and smaller every year on the shelf. And there are cases where the last few years our kindergarten numbers have gone up, and so what we've seen, first, second, and third, the numbers have gone above and beyond.
Because that's like the most basic thing a kid needs is the book.
Well, and
Especially with this new math, the parents are no help.
Yeah.
They need that book.
Well, and I've asked this before, but when is it going to be cheaper to go online, since we have all the computers, than it is to have the physical book?
Well, the elementary don't take home computers.
Well, but I mean, they'll have that access at school. I mean,
Yeah, we're playing with
that's
that now. We
something
have
that you have to
situations
look
like
at.
in math stuff where we're using partly online and partly not, and so we're kind of in that kind of transitional mode right now of not knowing exactly. The problem with the online piece is that when you write curriculum, if you only write curriculum every 8 years, you have to predict and hope that 8 years from now that company's still supplying that online piece, because if they don't,
yeah, that's true.
and they don't say, pay us each year, we only get the budget this year, and so we pay up front and hope that we'll get it for a year. So it's a tricky thing, but like Reflex, we've done that with Reflex. and
But I know that that is a big concern, because parents, more than one parent has sent an email asking about that. And I think that one of them, they said one of the books was like 12 or 14 years old. So we know that's not current. So that's just something that we need to be conscious of.
Our textbooks are
really.
purchased more often than that, aren't they?
Every 8 years, we're cycling
Every
every
8
8
years.
years.
So that must be one that's on its way out. If it's,
The other problem is that with the online pieces, some parents just don't like that. They want a book to come home, and so.
or they don't have online access or a computer at home.
Yeah, so
Lots of our
so-
kids do
So it's
not.
tough just to say we're going to go all online.
Yeah.
So then we're spending money to have books in case people want them, but we've got, it's tricky. It is. But to solve that, we are asking for we'll talk about it in finance, for there to be a contingency amount of money that says each year, when that occurs, we've got the money to get the books in the hands of the kids.
Well, I think we need to do that. Someone just happened to have that.
I don't know if that's is that the updated one that you did?
Revised. This is from 14.
Okay, so it would not have the contingency in it.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
So expensive to buy textbooks.
They are very expensive.
I remember that from last year.
All right. Shall we go on to, thank you, Mr. Burbank. Shall we go on to the materials for grade 7?
Okay, so to remind you, we updated our ELA curriculum here a couple years ago to align with Common Core, because we believe that's the direction that the state is going. We don't know that's taking another route, but we did update our curriculum at a time when it was not up for revision at that time, but we felt that it was necessary because of the changes that the State Department was making, that we needed to align with the tests that they were going to be sending us as well. So we rewrote the curriculum and didn't purchase resources. We then came back and said, really, we've got a very solid ELA curriculum in place, but we don't have the resources to support it. And so these two ladies have spent a considerable amount of time with teams of people to look at resources and comparing or analyzing those for how they impact our curriculum. They've done a lot of work, and so both of them are here to talk. They're going to do separately. We have Shelley here for the K-6 and Dawn here for 7-12. And we'll let Dawn, if you want to go first, and just talk about what that process looks like and how you believe the resources are going to support the curriculum.
Okay, so, and I sound just as bad as so many people here tonight, so. My budget was $590,000 total. We started this process about a year ago and started looking at like any possible vendor we could. Narrowed it down to about 5 vendors, and then followed a process in which we narrowed it down to finally 2 vendors. One of the neatest thing about this process has been the partnerships we've formed with Denise through SPED, and then Gina Villegas with ESOL, because we just, our kids are kids wherever they're sitting in our classroom. So we just thought it would be smarter to get the experts in from each area. We also brought in people from TMC to look at that tech piece, like you said. Here's your product, but if I can't support it in district, it's no better than a break. So we set up a criterion format. Shelley was involved in this. I followed her in her footsteps from what she did about a year or so earlier. No, it's fine. We had that criterion format, and that helped us greatly. The department chairs were all instructed to pilot deeply. We didn't restrict the pilots of any of our products to any certain group. Anybody who wanted to dig in, we said, please dig in. More heads are better than one. And then we came back together on a monthly basis for almost a year, narrowing that focus down, looking at everything from, do we need a book for every kid? Yes, we do. Can we support an complete online product? No, we can't. What we ended up with finally was the slide you have, or the document you have, which is the Holt product. And I'm really happy with this product. We bought last in 2002, 2003. Not on, various things happened, and so it's been a long time since we purchased anything for every kid, 7 through 12, for ELA. My budget was $590. What we were able to negotiate with our Holt vendor was it's actually 2 complete lit series, not just one. The main series is called the Collection Series. It has a book for every kid. There are consumables for every kid, both in assessment and in writing. Those will be purchased and I'm sure loaded on pallets into our warehouse. There's an entire online assessment bank. 3 novels are coming per kid, and so I just received the latest quote today. I'm able to select 16,287 novels. We haven't done a novels purchase in a long time. In addition to that collections product, not only tangible, has an online component as well. One of the things that a lot of our teachers liked, though, was what we call the old school Holt literature thing, kind of the old style anthology that weighs a ton. That had so many strengths. We audaciously asked the vendor how much it would cost to throw that into the purchase, and he at first was like, oh, it's not possible, and I just kept asking. And eventually I basically got 2 for 1. The nice thing about the old school Holt literature style is that will be a completely online product. It's all printable. It translates into, well, we looked at it in Slovakian, Spanish, Mandarin, Chinese, anything our ESOL people could use. We brought in Gina, we brought in Cheryl Wampler from Central to look at all of that translates. We also called in Dr. Thorpe to look at it from a SPED side for that population. So basically we're getting all of that for less than $5 a kid. So we're going to have 2 complete products there for our teachers. In addition, there's a product out there, a digital product called www.noredink.com, which is a computer-adapted grammar program. This is on the cutting edge of what we need to be doing with our kids for grammar, and then therefore translates into writing. And I'll let Sally talk a little bit more about that. She's used it quite a bit in her classroom. With the way we've kind of worked this, with my being able to negotiate the figures for wherever a kid was, then Denise and I, and then Gina and I were able to kind of talk about what portion of the total cost would be from those different groups. And then I'll be able to, again, buy some even additional novels for classrooms, because we are just, we're just at a dearth on selections. We haven't in the past purchased very much. We will be purchasing very mindfully. The product plan will be that everything will be barcoded and located in the warehouse, and that teachers will be able to go to a website and just kind of check out 35 copies of whatever, barcoded in, barcoded out. Things will be stored in buildings to be lost. I hate lack of inventory control. And I also don't like emails where somebody says, do you have 12 copies of this? Can you send it to me for 4th hour today? I'm like, no, I can't. So we're very excited, and I'm going to, as we go through the rest of this presentation, one of the things you'll see, I think, in their packet is the rollover letter. We were charged, our original order was $628,794. And in that figure, they wanted $33,300 just for shipping, and I threatened to run a truck and drive to Indiana myself. And so they zeroed out the shipping cost. And then because the last time we bought in 02-03, we did buy from Holt, they discounted another $125,000 plus as a repeat customer. So we saved quite a bit. We have 2 great products. We're very familiar with the literature Holt. We love the collections series. So this would be more than we have had since 02-03 for our teachers. Every teacher has a kit. Every kid has a book. All the online stuff is accessible. It works for ESOL. It works for SPED. We're so excited with the partnerships and that we brought all these people in for
And
this.
so they'll just be able to check it out as their,
well, every kid will get a textbook, which was very important. There are all kinds of logistical issues to going completely digital. The No Ready being an online product, but that's something you would do in class. So, and nobody wants to sit there and do grammar exercises. This is a very adaptable program.
So the two parts, the collections and the literature. The literature is the 3 novels. Is that what you're talking about?
No, the collections is the textbook series, but Holt has they have a complete textbook series also. We're just buying that just for an online resource. But it's fully printable, fully adaptable, and accessible to kids.
Okay.
We just didn't think kids needed to carry around, you know, an anthology like that. Yeah.
And this is for what grades?
7 through 12. And I don't know if you wanted to have Denise and Sally jump in with this portion of this.
If you don't mind, we have been very excited for months now about this opportunity. Just give you a little background information. This is the first time that we are aware of that regular ed and special education staff have collaborated with a curriculum purchase. Special education has not had a curriculum purchase for English language arts. Our teachers have just been really making do with whatever resources, and it's been very hodgepodge across the district. So for the first time, K through 6 is aligned from kindergarten through 12th grade, and also with differentiation for special education students and a variety of special education students, and also our English language learners as well. So I invited Dr. Sally Thorpe to join the team. Sally has been a reading specialist in our district. She has been a special education teacher in our district, and she's an outstanding English language arts teacher. So Sally led the special education teachers in collaborating with Dawn's team. And I'm going to let Sally tell you a little bit about what we're looking for. She'll talk to you about why the Holt purchase is good for all kids, and then why we're also going to ask to supplement that with another McGraw-Hill product called Flex Reading. So I'll let Sally tell you about that next.
Having walked the SPED world and the regular ed world, simultaneously, my heart lies in both. And when they asked me would I be interested in looking at curriculum, it was like, oh, would I ever? 17 years and I've never had this opportunity. So for the SPED side. So when Don and I started looking, I attended some of the Reg Ed PD, and then we branched off and we put our special education teachers in their own personal PD, and we started asking them, what do you need? What do your kids need? What do you need to meet their needs? Look at the differentiation. So all year, we looked at primarily 3 different curriculums. We invited 2 vendors in and ended up with the Holt that mirrors the Reg Ed purchase, simply because they have some individualized readers that allow teachers to differentiate down to the levels that our students would need. But it also offers that opportunity for those kids who are reading on grade level, but perhaps due to behavioral concerns or something like that, maybe they can't be in that full inclusion classroom setting. So with that in mind, then we started looking, but what are we going to do with our kids who simply are not at that level? Because we have buckets of kids in high school, in middle school, who read at that 300 to 600 grade level, or 300 to 600 SRI level. And that's low. That's 3rd grade to 6th grade. So when you have a student at the high school who is reading several grade levels below their peers, we have what is called a reading improvement class as well. That reading improvement class has not had a curriculum either. So those teachers have been pulling, and having been a reading improvement teacher, I know what that is. You're constantly scouring, you're looking. Denise has been fabulous about buying us novels that we could use and put in. But it still didn't offer all of the needs that we need when we look at IEP goals and objectives and collecting data and looking for that legality piece that comes along with making sure that we're following those IEP goals and objectives, and we have that data to prove that the student has made growth. The Flex system offers that. It is both an online and a hard copy purchase, which is something that we were looking at, because even though our kids have Chromebooks, doesn't necessarily mean all of them take them home. Maybe parents haven't signed their permission slip. Doesn't necessarily mean they have online access to where they can download materials, and they get broken quickly. And then we've got kids who don't have the mode that they need. So the Flex product is online and hard copy. It allows students to come in and establish a baseline of exactly where they're at. So if they're reading at, say, a kindergarten 1st grade level, on that pre-test, then any of the activities that pop up for them to do are going to be at that level. So then they're going, you mean I read at that level? Well, I don't know. Do you read at that level? So then they apply and they realize that the better they do, the harder it gets. Which then, that's your true differentiation. When they can see, oh, here I am, but here's where I'm going and growing. So that's why we really want to see that purchase for the 7-8. 7 and 8th grade piloted it at Truman, and then we had 2 tiers at Central piloted. All of them liked it, loved the idea that the kids, it was individualized, it built on current skills. For the 9 through 12 at Central, we felt like the whole would meet the needs of those kids in that medium and that level, simply because of differentiation. The No Red Ink that Dr. Smith was talking about is an awesome program for the grammar and mechanics that allows students, again, to take a baseline test, see where they're performing, and then it actually generates activities and worksheets that they have to work on to build those skills. So again, it's an individualized, differentiated instructional tool, which if you're a resource teacher with 10 to 15 kids and you have 8 different levels, how does any teacher do that? This program does it for them. Friendly based, you can gather data, the record keeping's there. And the other thing that we wanted to put in was the My Access. Now, previously the district had My Access for everybody, and it was a great tool, but there was a lot of uncertainty. We never really had the PD for it. The special education teachers used it in conjunction with writing IEP goals and objectives, because what it does do is separates into 6 different venues the skills that are applied when you write essays, and gives the kids a percentage score. So the teachers would write IEP goals, say somebody needed to increase their vocabulary usage. There is a sub-test on that My Access that allows them to use that and to gauge that on it. We would like to have that purchase along just with the SPED side, with the My No Red Ink and the Flex.
I will interject that Gina Villegas chimed in late this afternoon. Sorry, I gave her some passwords so she could look at the My Access. It's a computer adaptive writing program similar to the grammar, and she would like that very much for the ESOL kids. Cheryl Wampler has used it. It would be great for the TOEFL, some of the tests they have to take. So again, just trying to make these things be good for all our populations, differentiating. Gina would actually like to look at that. I think My Access goes down to 4th grade, because if we can get the writing skills. The nice thing about those 2 online products and the Holt Collections product is, as long as the kid's with us, all of that stuff starts and stops with them. You can be doing grammar for 10 minutes, bell rings, doing something. The next day they come in, picks up right where they left off. And so the whole time they're with us, we can just track all their progress. I will say, and I know you're going to address this maybe more, Brian, with technology, one thing Dr. Stagel said was, she wanted to do No Red Ink, maybe My Access, as a yearly purchase for some of those things we said. If we say to a tech company, we're going to give you 6 years money up front, they may not be here 6 years from now. Or something better might come up down the road for our kiddos. That being said, these things will be really easy to show improvement in usage over the first year, but expect that I'll be coming back and saying we need to re-up or we need to review some new product and we'd like to replace. I believe that these will be around. The No Red Ink has been developed by former English teachers, National Board teachers, and from Chicago Public Schools. So they developed this company from an English teacher's point of view.
That's amazing.
Yes, yes. So I guess we'll be asking Denise for some budget adjustments in those areas. Gina will be too, but I came in under budget as well. At budget.
I would expect it from you. I just.
We were just surprised with him.
Oh, I'm not surprised. We have this thing. I can't tell you how great it's been to develop these partnerships. It's been amazing for our teachers and our kids.
It's been a good year.
It's been a great year.
Well, I think that that's what's been missing all along, is that you've never had. And I think last year we were coming to curriculum meetings, and that was the first time that they had ever looked at it from K-12. And it was just like, your eyes just opened. It was like, well, this is the way it should be.
Well, in fact, I just did a book tour walk with Shelley, went to a bunch of our elementary schools, because my next project, this was done, now we go to the next project, is to really look at our K-12 literacy program. And so I got to visit the elementaries, and guess what? It's the same questions. And so I'm excited to do more and do more with that. It just makes sense. I know that Fine Arts is also looking at, World Languages is looking at Holt as a possible vendor, and I've suggested that they ask for more discounts since we're buying from multiple areas.
I was thinking that was.
Like the more discounts.
I said a year ago that I'd get them to pay me, and we're pretty close. I'm excited about it.
When I looked at that, I was like, we're saving that much?
Yes.
And then when you said over $33,000 for shipping?
I refuse to pay a teacher's salary for shipping. I will drive a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
absolutely
is
not.
Unbelievable.
And then I'll, just, it didn't hurt to ask for a repeat customer, even though it was 02 and 3, and that's what came back. And we double checked it, triple checked it. We're good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
It's very
it
good.
allows me to buy novels. Oh, the other thing we forgot, we have PD built into all these purchase prices. So that'll be good too. Yeah, PD from No Red Ink, from the whole collection, 2 days per year for the whole 6 years of the contract. And the No Red Ink, I think it was 2 in person and 1 virtual per semester. So we won't, we're not going to fail because of implementation. We know that's rough enough. Our teachers are going to be drinking from a fire hose with all of these materials, so we have to choose wisely and get them trained.
So I think it sounds good. Did you say that when the kids are on there, then they realize what reading level they're on?
Total. And there's this little person in the side of the screen. And depending on what the person has on, the teacher can walk through and see exactly where those kids are. And they never know. The kids have no idea what that little icon means. But as the teacher goes around and monitors, they can, oh yeah, he's got up 2 levels. And it's just, they were thrilled. They were absolutely thrilled.
And so that self-motivates them.
That's right. That's right.
Well, in the grammar program, the No Red Ink,
Oh.
they let the kids pick from their favorite books or movies, and then all the questions are adapted to like Hunger Games or Harry Potter or their own names, and they just think that's a hoot.
Very interactive.
Very
Like
interactive.
that. Yeah.
Well, if you have NASCAR fans, now they have NASCAR man.
So say whatever works. It works.
Oh, Lori would want the NASCAR.
Yeah. Well, the thing of it is that kids, like you said, every kid learns differently, and whatever it is that brings them to the table, gets them excited, engages them, whatever it is. Yeah, I don't say whatever it is, but whatever it takes. I think that we need to make every effort that we can
And
to get all of them.
No child wants to be different. Everybody wants to be different. Everybody wants.
That's right.
Everybody wants to be taught the same,
Yeah.
and this individualizes. So they have those tools. They aren't any different than anybody else. And
Yeah.
You're meeting them where they need to be met.
So to complement that, you want to talk a little bit about what K6?
Sure, absolutely. So we have followed the same process. I started meeting with vendors about 1.5 years ago because in the elementary world I was really concerned about making sure that whatever we chose as a resource aligned with the curriculum we were currently using in our classrooms and the philosophy that we have of balanced literacy in our classrooms. So as I met with them and just heard what they had to offer for us, then I brought those resources to our curriculum team and also sped along. Denise and I have worked together. This is the second time. She worked with me along with math as well. And so Michelle Brown worked with us from Ellison. And then I also had 14 members on my curriculum team. And so we started off with 4. With elementary at the moment, it may be the same way in secondary, I'm just not real aware. A lot of companies are putting a stamp on saying they are aligned to our standards, but not necessarily are they aligned when we get deep with the resources. So throughout this journey, we discovered that some of the materials were not well aligned, and we discovered that through the process. So last spring, I had the vendors come and meet with my team and show them what resources they had, and they decided which one they'd like to start their pilot with. And because of our timing, I thought we should begin our year with the pilot. Because of the opening of the 2 new buildings, that was a little crazy, but we did start our year with the pilot. And the materials were in the buildings when school started. And I had my pilot teacher, and then their grade level staff all piloted the materials. And so the company that we chose to go with also gave us all those materials free. So we have materials sitting in our buildings right now that we're going to get to keep quite a bit of those at no charge. So I'm very happy about that. And so they've been using them all year, and they will continue the year with those. Along with that, then in October, our classroom teachers have been using the curriculum now for over a year. And in elementary with 300 teachers, it was a little hard for me to get every classroom teacher involved in a pilot. So I asked for them in a survey to tell me what kinds of things they're needing in the classrooms based on the curriculum that they're using. And overwhelmingly, they're talking to me about, I'm pulling from so many different places to find the materials I need to teach the curriculum. They really wanted to be able to go to one place, and I really want to see a balance of literature and informational texts. I want comprehension strategy and lessons, grammar, genre studies. I had the priorities of what they wanted. So I took that back to the team for them to consider as they started thinking about which resource was the best. at the first quarter, then we switched our pilot over to the second pilot that they would like to see. And so as we went through the process and continually really evaluating which resource aligned to our curriculum and our philosophy, we landed on two, Wonders by McGraw-Hill and Journeys by Holt was the two we wound up with at the end. One resource was Pearson that we considered early on. Pearson was being piloted huge in the state of New York and actually was asked to pull their pilot from the state because they were not well aligned. And we had kind of discovered that along the way, so we also had to pull that pilot. The other one pushed back their final publication date until this coming fall, and so that wasn't going to work well for us either. So then we had two that we were with. So then in December, we had a resource fair where I invited all the elementary staff to come and preview the resources. And they filled out a criteria sheet that was a little bit shorter than the one we used in our curriculum team. And I'll pass it around just so you can see that. That they filled this out. Overwhelmingly, the resource fair showed that our staff would like to choose Wonders. And so I consider what they want to use. But I also know that they're seeing, it's their first brush of it. They don't have the in-depth knowledge that our team does. So our team went back in the 2 different nights and 1/2 of a day with a sub, and we analyzed down to the standard level our curriculum and the resource. And for us, the resource that really did follow our philosophy of instruction and the standards in our curriculum was Wonders. It was the overwhelming choice. We only had 8 from the staff that wanted the other resource of Journeys. And so that was a choice we made. So we did not go with Holt, and I felt bad about that because then we could have even got a better discount, but Wonders just wasn't the best resource for our elementary students. So I kind of wanted to show you from that what we get on the Wonders side, because we're not under budget, as Mr. Schindler's probably told you, but here's why. Wonders, what I have got them to do is they are only charging us for the student materials. They're giving us all the teacher materials free, because I just can't, with our 6,400 students, each of them are going to get what they call a guided Readers Writers Workshop. It's going to allow us in our elementary schools to really streamline what we're doing in Readers and Writers Workshop. Our teachers really want to be able to have a piece of text that's written for a specific purpose, so they can teach their reading skills, which has really been the focus of our instruction over the last couple of years. But if you go back into our district 6 or 7 years ago, we were teaching comprehension strategies, and that was really what we were teaching. Well, now we need to bring those comprehension strategies back along with our reading skills and not lose those reading skills when the comprehension strategies come back. Like Darren was talking about, the strategy work. This is going to allow us to teach our strategies along with our skills in a guided practice. It also has work with grammar. It also has work with writing. It has, eventually, if we'd like to go down the spelling path, it also has spelling work to do with this, because we do hear a lot of complaints about our sentence spelling, and so it's something we might want to revisit down in the future. But this is the guided practice for our classroom teachers every week, and it's written around a thematic unit that's very meaningful for the students. I get reports from our teachers that when this book came back off the shelf after the pilot, the children were kissing the books. They loved it. We have reports from the SPED teacher. They have a parallel SPED program to where what they're doing in the regular classroom parallels right to this. The student doesn't realize they're working below grade level because it looks exactly the same. It's the scaffolding within the text that is different. It works beautifully, and Denise, I'll let her explain that more in a minute. This is the guided. There is a piece a week that's for the independent reading that they can use, which also works beautifully with our balanced literacy structure. This is one piece they can read a week independently to apply what they've learned in the guided practice, along with what they're doing in balanced literacy, of pulling their favorite book or from their favorite reads in the baskets around the classrooms for balanced literacy, and reading that independently as well. So they have 2 things that they can read with, guided and independently, along with the baskets of books you see around the classroom for their independent reads. These are the only 2 things we're paying for per student. In kindergarten and 1st grade right now, we're sitting at about 1,000 students compared to where we are in 2nd through 6th. That's where I'm having problems with prices. But in elementary, we're getting the teacher's book. We are getting everything completely digital. Everything that we purchase in elementary is going to be digital too. It's a wonderful online digital tool. We get 1-year practice books, but everything that's in practice that's a consumable will be available online from there on out. They're getting visual vocabulary cards. They get leveled readers per classrooms. They get a teacher's guide for all the leveled readers. So when they use the leveled readers, there's a teacher guide they can pull of what they could be doing with those leveled readers, retelling cards, interactive read aloud cards, workstation cards, high frequency cards, photo cards, sound spelling cards, decodable readers, and assessments from weekly to unit, all free if we purchase these two things for the students.
And they're online.
We get them free hard copy and online. And it's all free. So I know I didn't get free shipping, but I have a lot of teacher things that are free. I will drive too if you want me
It wasn't
to.
quite as much.
I never
either.
thought of that. I'll drive. But the other
Might as well
piece,
just throw that out there just in case.
the other piece that I'm really excited about is I don't know if you've heard about this literacy consultant who's been coming in for this. His name is John Slagle. He's a national literacy consultant that they flew into me. When I kind of talked to them about where we are on the floor with our ELA scores that we've talked about in a meeting before. And so they flew him in to talk with me, and he wants to come back and work with us in St. Joe using our balanced literacy philosophy and how we can not, he doesn't believe in using Wonders page by page by page, but how we can use this as a menu in our balanced literacy workshop. And so he's agreed to come in this summer and train my ELA team with 14 of their regional consultants to provide PD to our teachers in August, all of our teachers, K-6. And then he's also agreed to do a train the trainer PD with my elementary principals and instructional coaches 2 times this following school years, and then they can go back out into the buildings and train their staff, and then regional consultants from FRS from there on. So that's a huge
Included
piece
in
for
the
us.
price?
Included in the price.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Including the price. And then I'll let Denise speak a little bit about the Wonders. There is a great ELL component within this, but they are also in the process of developing a Wonders ELL. It's not quite ready yet, but that is something we definitely want to take a look at in the future and that they're thinking about.
Just take one.
So, do you have any questions for me? I know it was kind of fast. I know our time is running late.
You're fine. No, that's fabulous. This is a big purchase.
And I
So
know
I want to take the time.
I'm not under budget. I'm sorry. Somebody could give me free student stuff.
So a couple of things. One is, I will be surprised if you don't hear from teachers saying thank you. I believe that they've been waiting for this for years, for this kind of organized resource to be in their classroom. So we are really excited about it. It is about time that we got here. So I'm excited about it, and I hope you hear from teachers as well. As Shelley said, as I said to you earlier, that we're given a budget of $600,000, and what we try to do is we just try to play with all the resources and figure out kind of where we're at. And what we came to realize was that we, is this the student one?
That's one student.
We got a bid, and we could have done it for $600,000 on our budget if we were willing to put 10 of these in each classroom. So that would not put one of these in every kid's hands. So for $600,000, we could have met the need. We could have done it, but the budget came in, and you've got it there in front of you, is $676. So for $76,000, we can go from putting 10 in a room to every child, every K-6 child gets a book. And my recommendation to the board is that you allow us to bring a budget adjustment to you for that $76,000, that we do what's right, and that is put these in the hands of kids. So that would be my recommendation to you.
And I would add to that we can do the budget adjustment, or it's also possible that we'll be under budget somewhere else within our budget, and so it may not necessarily be needed. So anyway, the board can have a preference. We can increase the budget, but we may have other areas that are under budget that we can move money from. I just wanted to cover that.
I'd leave that to your expertise.
Okay. Let me think about it, and we'll either bring it to you on the Finance Committee or tell you otherwise where we found the money.
Okay. I just really appreciate your support, because it's been really tough putting 10 math books in a classroom, and I hated we had to make that decision at the time, but that's been really tough on our classroom teachers. But we did that because, and here's why. I mean, that's a decision we made at the time. It's because we had digital in some buildings, and we had digital not in some buildings. And honestly, the philosophy is, too, we are working through PD. We really don't want turning the page every day with a textbook either, so we had a philosophy change too. So I do appreciate this, because this is incredibly important to put a book in the hands of every child.
I'd like to personally thank the two of you and everybody else with your teams. I know you're talking about probably more than a year's worth of work going into this, and then also compliment the board because, I mean, what you're doing and what you're about to approve is something that's been long overdue and something that is a tremendous step for this particular content.
For our kids?
Yes.
Absolutely. Reading and writing.
So,
It's
thank you
not
guys
just
for
this.
everything you've done.
I still have the business finance side of the special education request. The single sheet you have is the K through 12 total request. And how I handled this, since this, as I said earlier, was the first time we've had this opportunity to collaborate, special education has to come basically in step, but almost toe to heel in step with regular education as they plan curriculum, because they are the content experts and they are going to plan it for us. So we work together, but just slightly behind them, because they have to make the professional decision on what's best, and then they assist us in determining what the best parallel curriculum is. So the total district-wide amount you see at the bottom of this page is for K through 12. It's a first-time purchase and will be basically our purchase in terms of curriculum for the next 8 years. So I understand it's large, but it's a first-time purchase and it will last us 8 years. Starting at the top for kindergarten through 6th grade, that is the total cost there. It's a little over $200,000. What that will give us for the first time is in each building, they will have 1 to 2 grade level kits for each grade. So I've given you the quote sheet from McGraw-Hill that explains that a little bit. I've asked for 22 kits at each grade level, and that will be something new for our special education teachers. Often they've had to beg, borrow, or do without in terms of individual grade level materials, because we never made the purchase before. So this will let each elementary building have, for their special education department, a K kit at 1st grade, 2nd through 6th grade. So they will no longer be begging and borrowing, they will have their own. But included in that is the materials meant for remediation and working with children with learning disabilities or intellectual disabilities. So something that Sally hit on and Shelley hit on was about how students, when they're included in regular ed, want to look as their peers do. They have done a beautiful job, this company, of making resources that are leveled. So on the special education side, we'll have the regular ed, topic book they're reading. Then the special education teacher can pick from varying levels. The pictures are the same, the front and back are the same, but inside the reading level has been leveled for the individual student. So it's very inclusive, and that was a huge draw. Also interesting, Michelle Brown's students loved this. They even wrote me notes. She asked them to do this as part of their project as to why they wanted that. I've never seen kids so excited about new books before. A second piece about the online that I don't know if Shelley mentioned, but it's very similar to what our students will take on the MAP test. It has all those universal accommodations, sticky notes, spell check, being able to highlight. The students love that. I think getting that in their hands in a safe environment will extend hopefully into taking MAP. So that is the request for K-6 at the top. Then 7 through 12, we're seeking a variety of resources, which we've kind of already touched on.
Right, the same as the regular ed.
The regular ed. The difference is the Holt is what Dr. Smith explained. The $50,000, that would be our share of that total cost. By combining it into one order, we will separate and designate our share under special education for the accounting purposes. We need to show that we are spending a fair amount. It's called the maintenance of effort towards our special education students. So we'll show that. No red ink, that will be an annual cost. My access will be an annual cost. Flex by McGraw-Hill, that is everything that Dr. Thorpe explained, plus the online access for up to 6 years. I am still in negotiations a little bit with McGraw-Hill on the shipping. Right now, they are at 3.45%, and I'm trying to work them down to 2%. They're supposed to get back to me. Same way with, I know, I may call.
It's Kansas City, I'll go
I
down
may
there.
speak to Dr. Smith on
He's Kansas City, I'll go pick it up.
Grab your semi.
Yeah.
And same way with Flex, McGraw-Hill, I'm still negotiating a little bit. So that's the estimate. What you need to understand is that I'm requesting that this be budgeted in next school year, for the 15 school year. It's not, I did not budget it for this school year because I didn't know where we would end. Like, we had to do all this work first before we would knew what we would want to order. So when I sit with Mr. Musser, what I'm asking of you to consider is that I will be requesting this amount to be budgeted for special education services in the 15-16 school year, and then I'll be able to make the purchase after July 1st, pending board approval. So does anyone have any questions?
And that's what all this is for those guys too, right? This is all next
No,
year.
that's this year.
No,
That was budgeted for this year.
Oh, that's for this
it's
year.
already budgeted. And
That's one's already budgeted,
Yes.
and we just buy it now. And then yours goes with them, but they're all being implemented next year.
Yes.
Understood.
It'll be here if we order it in
Gotcha.
early July.
Yeah.
If not, I really appreciate the board's support very much.
So is the PD for your staff included? in
Yes.
San
As
Mateo?
theirs is?
Yes, that's something that Dr. Smith and Shelley, Ms. Norquist, worked out for me.
And that'll be done in this summer, is that correct?
We don't have those details worked out yet. We just know
PD's included in the price.
it's included in the price. We'll work out the dates and times
Do you
later.
anticipate doing that before the school year next year or during the school year?
No, I would anticipate starting it in our calendar year with, we have, 4 PD days throughout the next year.
During the school
And during
year.
a school year, yeah.
Mine is ongoing.
Mhm.
We're going to have one day in the summer, and then we'll have one day in August, and then
Right.
2 in the fall.
I was just curious on how you were going to implement it without the PD.
Right. We are going to have some time so they have that ready to go before school starts.
Yeah, all materials will be available. All online codes will come in after July 1 because even though teachers have been using things all year in our pilots, we don't want to start codes now because then that means we're in April.
Right.
June, and so we need to let that go till July 1. But teachers have been piloting already deeply. They're using these products. So.
But for elementary, we get codes the minute the order is processed. But we don't get, with McGraw-Hill, you get codes the minute it's processed. We don't get punished for our time frame until start of school year. We're going to have you become our negotiator.
She's good.
It's because I negotiate with teenagers all day long, right? No, that's the
I
training.
see the connection there.
Yeah, I want you to write something. They don't. Something has to give.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a consent agenda item, right? Of course, a whisperer over here.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yes, they've done a great job.
Exciting year next year.
So can I probably need some clarification then. So for consent agenda, you had already approved the budget, and so you're approving that they had the money, they found the right resources, it's been approved. With the consent agenda on SPED, what is it that we're approving in that case? Since she's going to take the budget for next year, which you'll bring at some point. I just want to clarify.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
the
part
consent
is-
agenda would be for the current year purchase. It's already been budgeted for.
Which would be these two.
Right, and then the special ed budget for next year will either be addressed Friday with the normal textbook schedule or at a later date.
I just want clarification.
Debbie,
Not on the consent agenda.
Could we get those on approval of bills? Yeah, those documents on there.
Now the audit report.
And I can't tell you how happy your special ed teachers will be.
Great.
Walk in and have a product and,
Ready to go. Don't have
Yeah.
to go here and there.
yeah.
So you'll have to start filming and taking pictures of all of the cartwheels.
Well, and as much as anything, at the end of this, when we did our final reflections and stuff, they expressed their pleasure at being part of the community. For once, they feel like they're a community.
Well, that's what we should be, and that's the way it always should be.
is.
So that's why I was very hopeful last year when I was seeing the K
This has
through
been
12.
good.
So it's
Even
just-
though I'm on her side now. I teach reggae, but this has just been fabulous.
Yeah,
And
and
they're
I
so,
think
so thankful and
It's a very good
appreciative.
foundation for us to
Very
build
good
on. Thank you.
Sorry, my voice is really audit.
The audit.
Well, really, there's nothing in addition here. The only one that could fall within the curriculum instruction is the summer school, and I know that we've talked about that one quite a bit. And really, the recommendation, 3.1, the school board improve controls over summer school reporting, including implementing their corrective action plan, which has been submitted, and ensure that future summer school programs meet the criteria set by DESE. So the district has submitted a corrective action plan to DESE and has established the guidelines to eliminate all non-allowable courses, in which we've already began that process. We've also said and submitted to them that the coordinator of the summer school and the supervisor will annually review the summer school handbook. The summer school application will be completed and reviewed by the coordinator of summer school and their supervisor. Any additions or changes from previous year will be reviewed with DESE prior to putting them on the application. And then the application will include a calendar outlining specific dates of the entire summer school program. So that one is one which will be categorized completed and ongoing, because it'll be something that we'll have to continually do annually. So that's really the only one that I have for this committee.
Perfect. Sounds good. That looks like everything on our agenda, so I'll entertain a motion to.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.